Pregame.com.
Thursday night TNT NBA action, Orlando at Golden State. I'm Marco D'Angelo, and I'm joined by Brian Leonard. Brian, it's your first year doing basketball videos with us here at Pregame, and it's a little tougher for us to do basketball videos than it is the NFL, because the NFL and college football, the line, they play once a week.
Lines are already out.
The lines are out. We can talk about everything. But for basketball, when we want to give the viewers, plays every day and have videos up there, we've got to do basketball a day or two in advance. And as you know, basketball is a day-to-day sport, so the lines aren't out. So for our first-time viewers, when we give a game, we're going to give you a projection of what we think the line is going to be, our own personal, number on the game, and then we're kind of doing our handicap from that. We're going to give you a margin. When I give a play, I'll say I expect team A to win by X number of points. When the line actually comes out that day, you got to be smart and don't just go, if I say take the favorite and the line comes out
higher than what you... Yeah.
So that's, the preface for this. Now let's jump into it. It's Orlando, it's Golden State, it's TNT. We picked this game because there'll be, a lot of people like to watch the TNT Thursday night games, and this should be an interesting one. We got the Orlando Magic. They're in the third leg of a 4-game road trip. It's really like a road trip plus one, because the first 3 legs are on the West Coast. Then they have like 3 days off, and then they play in New York at Madison Square Garden. So it's like 2 separate road trips, but it is 4 in a row. This is the final game of the West Coast swing, and they're going to be playing, to complicate things a little more, we're taping on Wednesday. They're playing tonight, so we don't know the outcome of the game. So obviously if Dwight Howard gets hurt or something like that, it changes everything. Right. My number, I have Orlando as a 4-point favorite right now. Now, obviously, if Orlando looks super good tonight or super bad, then I would plus or minus a little bit off of that. What's your number?
I made Orlando 3, since it will be the second of a back-to-back.
And that's something that I do want to bring up, because it's part of it that I actually thought this line would have been higher, and I'm higher than you. I had 4. I thought it would be even more a bigger number, but I factored that same thing in. And something for our listeners out there, Vegas, I have found through the last couple, several years, that when a team does play back-to-back, I'm factoring a point to a point and a half difference in the line, that they're making you pay a tariff for if you want the rested team.
Right, and a lot of times you'll see a team that plays overtime the night before, and that'll throw everything out. Because we had that a few times this week. In fact, tonight, Miami played that overtime game last night, and now tonight they're playing the Clippers.
Right, and it's a situation that we see this every year with the back-to-backs, but this year we're going to see it even more, because it's something that I wanted to incorporate in this video, and it's one of the reasons why I picked this game, because the NBA handicap this year is going to be different. The teams, the schedules are not spread out the way they used to be. Right. So there's so many different factors. You're going to have fatigue, the travel, and not only are the back-to-backs this year, which there'll be many back-to-backs, more than any other season, but you're also going to have some 3 games in 3 days, which you never had, before. Maybe
98,
yeah,
the one season where they had, I believe, another strike. It's so much more to look at this year in the NBA. 4 games in 5 nights is basically a point and a half, that kind of thing. A lot of the ways that you take a look at these games is you have to not only look at the schedule, you got to look at how many minutes these players are playing. We had a nice discussion on the forum this week. Guys were wondering about the unders. And I said, well, a lot of it is where you're normally playing, your starters are playing 38, 40 minutes. They're now playing 32, 35 minutes. The guys that are now the number 9, 10, 11 players are now in the lineup. And most of those guys are your hustle guys. They're not your sharpshooters. Yeah. So which is another reason why these games have been tending to go over. In fact, I think it was 61% going under going into last night's action. So the people that were getting ahead of the line moves were really finding that out and making a lot of money playing these unders.
Well, and it's a good point, because in theory, I've been a guy that tired teams don't play defense. And normally in any other given season, if I had a team that played 3 or 4 games, in a stretch, I would be looking more towards the overs, and it would be working back then because they weren't only playing the starters like you're saying now. They're making adjustment. Everybody in the NBA can score the starters, but if they don't put the effort in on the other side of the court, that's when you get the overs. And I've always thought that it takes more energy to play defense than it does to play offense.
I do want to cut you off there. I don't know if I look at it as a general rule. I played basketball before. It's been a while. But when you play and you're tired, and if you're a jump shooting team, you're going to come up short. So you have to take a look at which teams are attacking from the outside. They're playing a second and back-to-back, 4th and 5. They're going to have some problems shooting. Now, you've got other teams, maybe like a Miami Heat, where LeBron James just takes it to the hole.
Right.
It's not going to have the same effect.
Right. Good point. Yeah, you lose your legs. You're an outside shooter, definitely. Yeah, I agree with you there. Getting to this game, the Orlando Magic, I like them here for a couple reasons. One, I think we are going to get a soft number. I think we're going to get the Heat, or excuse me, Orlando. I'm getting ahead of myself to part of my analysis. We're going to get a soft number for 2 reasons. One, because they played the night before, and 2, Golden State just beat the Miami Heat in their last game. So people are going to look and say, if Golden State can beat Miami, which everybody feels Miami's one of the, if not the best team, one of the top 3 teams in the NBA, they should be able to beat Orlando, right? So we're getting a soft number there. On the flip side, you got a Golden State team that's not a top-notch team, and they're just coming off a monumental win, and it was an overtime win. I can't see them coming and matching the same intensity, even though this is a TNT game and teams get up for the TV games, as they had for playing the Heat. The Orlando Magic are not the Heat. There's not LeBron James. There's not Dwayne Wade. There's not all the superstars. But there is one name that is a superstar on Orlando, and it's another reason why I like Orlando here. Dwight Howard. Everybody knows he wants traded. What better stage to advertise yourself to those other NBA teams that are thinking about pulling the trigger and making the trade than on a TV game, national TV? I think he's playing back-to-back nights. If you're going to dog one of the 2 nights, it ain't going to be the TNT game for the national audience. I like Orlando here. I have them winning by 8.
All right. Well, I made the line 3. You made it 4. So we'll see how the line comes out.
It'll come out 3.5.
3.5. Probably should. But I'll counterpoint you here. I'm not in love with this game. I'm probably not going to use it. But there's some things I want to talk about. Teams who are playing on the road as a road favorite with no rest, 7-11 this year. They've always been a bad point spread situation. He talked about Golden State off that monumental win over Miami. Well, they already beat the Knicks at home, although the Knicks have not gotten off to a good start. But they beat the best team in the NBA, in my opinion, the Chicago Bulls at home. It was a similar situation. It was right after Chicago played their first game. They started the season, I believe they played the Lakers. They get that victory. The next day they're at Golden State. Hey, it's only the Golden State Warriors. They lose. So they've already shown that they can beat these teams at home. And it's interesting. Orlando's won 5 of the last 6 in this series. The last game they lost was right here in the same situation that happened last night. Last night, Golden State, I'm talking here on Wednesday. Golden State is down 17 points to Miami. Come back, force overtime, win. Last time they played Orlando in this building, down 21 points, come back, overtime, win. So they've got enough confidence. They know now that they can come back from behind in these games and get that victory. And as Orlando has been on national TV many times over the last few years because of Dwight Howard and this team, Golden State rarely is. And it's a West Coast team. You always talk about the East Coast bias. Now that we live on the West Coast, you can definitely see it. I mean, unless you're the LA Lakers, nobody pays any attention. Maybe the Clippers this year. But if you're Sacramento, if you're Golden State, you're some of these teams, the Utah Jazz, nobody gets to see them play. Nobody knows anything about them. This is a big game for Golden State here. And the fact that Orlando has to play at Portland tonight, Wednesday, Portland's a physical team. Portland's a team that's going to wear you down. Portland's going to try to run on you. I think that's going to hurt the Orlando legs. And to be honest with you, I think Orlando's really down this year. So to expect Orlando to win outright on the road here in the second of back-to-back, I'm leaning with Golden State here. It all depends on what kind of line we see.
And well, we'll see there. We'll see what the line comes out. We disagree slightly on the line, and we disagree on the game. So we got the viewers totally confused on this one.
If this was a pizza bet, although neither one of us want to give up a pizza to the other guy.
Yeah. Well, we'll negotiate at lunch on it and see. One thing that I will say to you about, you make all good points, but the Chicago one, the analogy you made about, the Bulls coming in here, see, that actually makes me like Orlando better, because the fact that Chicago, there's no question, after beating the Lakers, the Chicago came in, they're coming off a high, and now they're dropping in class to play Golden State. You look past that team, because Orlando's coming in here, it's the reverse effect. They're coming in here after a better team got beat here. They're not going to take Golden State for granted. I always, back in, buddy of mine that's in this business, he actually put me onto this years back, that when Philadelphia had good basketball, 76ers were good and the Celtics were good, it was like if one played a team one night and the next team played that same team the next night, it was...
Try to outdo them.
Yeah, it's a situation. So that's kind of that little, scenario here. I like the fact that they're coming in here after the last team that was in the building is the so-called best team in the NBA, and they lost. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's an in-state rival for Orlando too, so they always compare themselves to Miami.
There you go. So Brian's got a slight opinion on the home dog. I've got, a little stronger opinion on the road favorite. We'll find out who's buying pizza or lunch next week. We'll see. Either way, I'm going to get a pizza anyways.
Win-win.
Yeah, if I'm buying or not buying, we're getting one. So he's Brian Leonard. I'm Marco D'Angelo. If you want to ask us questions about these, especially on game day, since this game, we don't have the line yet, this is the time to use pregamevideos.com. Talk about the games the day they are, because we are taping a day or two in advance with the basketball games. You can check back with us on game day and see how we feel when we actually saw the number and what we make of it, and any adjustments from, in this instance, because Orlando plays tonight. So, how the outcome of tonight's game might affect our thinking for tomorrow.
Yeah, if it's a blowout game and they rest their starters, that's a totally different situation than going to overtime like we just talked about earlier.
So go to pregamevideos.com, carry on the conversation. Thanks for watching. We'll be back. Brian's going to do some videos with Scott Spreitzer. Vegas Runner will be in too. So check out all the videos at pregame.tv.